Welcome to Garden Spaces. In this edition of Garden Spaces, we're going to be taking you around beautiful Whitman Park to show you all of the flora that's going on here. It's early spring. There's a lot of stuff that's in bloom and a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up later in the year. I'm here with June O'Leary, president of the Friends of the Whitman Park. And June, there are just some gorgeous things to be seen here today.
Oh, the whole park. We are so fortunate to have this park. But I'd like to take a moment and thank all the people who've helped along the way, all the businesses. We started in 2000, the year 2000, and it's just grown and become more beautiful every day.
And you've done quite a bit in 20 years, and it took the Olmsteds 30 years to build this park.
Well, we are so lucky. We're lucky to have it.
Okay, let's take a little walk and see what we can find to show the folks.
Fine.
Well, June, here we are at the Perennial Garden. Now, this is something that's a little bit newer than a lot of the other things in the garden. How did you decide to do this?
Well, thanks to the generosity of some woman from Hanson, I wish I could remember her name. She called Lars Johnson and said, "I'm cleaning out my garden, and would you like some flowers for the park?" And I said, "Oh yeah." So all of a sudden I thought, well, there's nothing down here, so let's put it down here. And we actually got one complaint because they thought baseballs would go into the into the garden, but we worked over that. And we had 4 yards of loam delivered, and Lars and I spread it all out. It took us days, 2 or 3 days to do it all. And the Joe Saccone, God rest his soul, donated all the rocks to go around the outside edge, and little by little we put in all the shrubs and the plants and ground cover. And we had a dogwood, a pink dogwood tree here, but I guess it didn't make it. But it's very pretty. It's a nice touch to have some growth and color and some kind of greenery down here at this end of the park.
And what's nice too about this particular garden is the fact that there are spring flowers in here, there are summer flowers in here, there are even some autumn flowers in here. So once the blossoming starts in the spring, this blossoms in here all summer long.
Yeah, it's just it's nice to have vegetation here, because this whole lower park, there isn't anything. We've got the pond and other things up on that end, but there was nothing down here, and I think it looks really pretty. And it's lit up in the evening by this light. George Levitt, Dr. Levitt, donated that lamp for us. But in the evening, it's lit up here. It makes a nice touch.
And all the paths where they have the lights, it's just so nice to see them in the evening during the summer. Yeah. It's almost like a fairy garden with the lights running, and you can see beautifully during the nighttime. Well,
it's a welcoming sign to have it lit up like that.
And now let's talk about some of the plantings that are in here. We have some irises right here.
Right.
And what is this one down here?
You know, it's a ground cover, and I'm not familiar with them anymore because some of them are different than what they were before. But we had tulips, iris, those red ones, barberries. Yeah.
Oh, I have a story to tell you about barberry bushes. Come on back around here so we can see when we get there.
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid growing up, we lived in a house up in Braintree, and the boundary between our house and the next door was barberry bushes. And when you're a kid playing ball out in the yard and the ball goes into the barberry bushes, you don't want to go in there.
You don't go in there.
So
that's why we had them planted around the Civil War statue, because the kids were getting up there and you wouldn't believe the damage. The whole platform that the Civil War statue on was pried up and was this far off its base. Yeah. The rifle was broken, so we planted the bushes all around there, hoping to keep the kids out. And it worked, till Bruce took them out.
I've got to tell you, coming back to the perennial garden here, we've got lots of daylilies coming up.
Yes.
And in the summer, you've got the irises, I think they get started, the purple of the iris.
The
and then up
purple
come
iris.
those orange blossoms on the daylilies.
Yeah.
And the contrast between the purple and the orange is just tremendous.
lovely.
It's like, I don't know, remember the old, back in the 60s, the day glow colors under the black lights? With the purple and the orange.
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, it was pretty electric back in those days in the dark room, but this in the summer, those colors are just as vibrant as if they had a black light showing on them, and it's just spectacular.
It's a really good point to have it on this corner. As I said, that's all there is down here. But I love it. I think it's nice.
Shall we take a little walk down Park Avenue and see what there is to see down that way?
Take a walk down Park Avenue.
Pausing just a little bit to show off something that isn't quite a garden in the park, and it's this drinking fountain with the statue of Cupid up on the top. And this was a donation from somebody. You want to tell the story, June?
Well, it's a donation from Mr. Brigham. He lived across the street, and his wife was very ill. And the playground used to be up here, on this corner here. And the kids were very noisy, and it was summer, and the windows were open, and so he asked if the kids could be quiet because she was very, very ill, and she was dying. And so the kids did, and they actually moved the playground down to the lower park then. But when she passed away, he put this monument up for her, and to thank the kids from Whitman for being so nice about him asking that favor.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a couple of nice juniper bushes here on either side.
Yeah.
And there's what was a tulip that came up down here on the ground. So there are flowers here. There's the nice junipers. It's one of the idyllic spots in the park.
Well, it always makes people kind of grateful to this man, especially because he went through so much with his dear wife, and the statue of the Cupid on top is just dear, and a lot of people walk right by it and don't even notice it. So next time somebody comes by, I hope they take a good look at it. It's beautiful.
And this was originally set up as a drinking fountain.
Yes, it was.
And I don't think it's connected to the water
No.
at the moment, but who knows? There may be some changes coming down the line for that one too.
Well, people say they like it, but the certain other people that have to take care of it and maintain it it's just going to get ruined again, and so better keep it as a monument than a working fountain.
Well, let's continue on our walk down Park Avenue.
Oh, okay.
Another quick stop I thought we'd do, June. This is a cherry tree that we're standing under here, and a week ago this thing was just absolutely covered with the most beautiful pink blossoms. There's still a few left on here. We'll get a close-up for you so you can see them. But this is just a great tree.
It's an old tree. And when the blossoms do come off, it looks like it's snowing. These tiny little blossoms and little leaves, but it's a very old tree.
Yeah, and the pear trees that are in blossom now, which there's one down by the Perennial Garden that we forgot to mention when we were down there. And when those drop their petals, it's like it's snowing too.
That we put that in when we put the Perennial Garden. It's got to be at least 15 to 18 years old, but it's beautiful, beautiful. We had a fellow from Hanson that it was like a 10-foot tree when it came, but fellow from Hanson came up with his big claw diggers and planted it in there. It was impressive to see. It's very beautiful.
And another place we're right near that's an unusual thing is the hill right across from us.
Right.
There's nothing but
Pine.
evergreens over there.
Yeah.
A lot of big white pines.
Right.
Those were probably put in very early on in the park because, judging by the height and the size of the trunks, they've got to be pretty close to about 80 years old.
Oh, I think they've always been there. They say they're probably at least 80 to 100 years old. And
Well, let's see now. The park was finished. The construction was finished with 1930. It's now 2020, so I guess
almost 100
90
years.
or more years old.
yeah.
And they're just great. There's a couple over here that are looking a little tough, but
That's why we have to get
yeah,
more trees planted, because these trees, a lot of them are so old that one day you're going to just not have enough trees in the park. And we planted, I bet, close to 75 to 100 trees. And if you said that to people, they wouldn't believe it. Where did you put them? Well, they're all over the park. And now the DPW is wonderful. Bruce Martin is taking over, and I'm very grateful for what the help he's been over the last couple of years, because all of a sudden, boom, people besides Friends of the Park realized just what we had here.
Right.
And the DPW has done a lot to help.
And people say, where did you plant them? We have some old postcards that were taken around the time the park opened, and there were more plantings here than you could shake a stick at. They were just everywhere. It was like everything was. It was almost like a maze sometimes, because there were rows of smaller shrubs with the trees behind, and
a lot of shrubbery.
Yeah,
a lot of shrubbery.
And you still would like to see some of that come back too.
Yeah, one of Olmsted's biggest points was he wanted to create a place where people could come and get out of society's busy stuff. Come here, relax, look at the pond and the trees. But he wanted a vista. He didn't want a lot. He wanted open space so people could come in with no buildings around you and street lights and all of that, and walk the paths. That's why we try to make sure that these don't get paved, because he wants people to figure like they're outside in the woods.
And just speaking of the vistas, you get up in the park and just do a turn around, and every place you look at, there's just something that just frames up in your vision.
Yes.
It just makes it, it's a lovely, lovely park.
Yeah. And I don't know how many people do it, but if you can, it's nice to take a walk up on top of those hills and look at it from a different angle.
Oh, yeah.
You look down on the pond, the reflecting pond, from up on that hill, and it's a whole different view.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Exactly. And when you were by the bandstand, looking across the pond to the hills, it's a whole different view there too.
Yeah. And we have to thank Mr. Whitman for this.
Yes.
But he left all the property, all but 3 acres. He left, and his sister added 3 more acres to make it what it is today. I think it's 14 point something acres. We're just very lucky that they did this. So I don't know as it ever would have happened if he didn't do that.
Yeah. Well, shall we mosey on to another spot where we can show people something that's growing and flowering here?
When I was in Texas, I learned how to mosey.
We're here at one of 2 islands that are not in the pond. They're islands where the traffic goes around as you walk through the park. And this one is kind of unique from the other one because it's got a nice little lilac growing here. The buds are coming out. It'll be blooming in another week or so. And we have more lilies, iris, and who knows what all else is in this garden. And not only that, but from here, if you look behind us, way over there, you can see the yellow forsythia in bloom. There's another forsythia over here. So we've got all these early spring bushes out right now that are just loaded with blossoms. So you were telling me a little bit about this when we first came up, about the stones in the corners?
Yeah, originally, this has gone through 2 or 3 transitions. Gentlemen donated, well, actually, the first thing we did, we cleaned it all up and provided 1,200 bulbs. And Laz Johnson, Kathy Teehan, a whole bunch of us down here, all hands and knees one day planting all these bulbs and trying to see where they would be. But then somebody else donated an umbrella pine. They're beautiful pine trees. They're the ones that curve up on the ends. And so they decided they'd plant that here. That didn't work. So now we're on our third garden, and this looks like it's a good one. I think this will stay.
Yeah. Well, when this lilac gets a little bit bigger in another couple of years, it's going to be a spectacular thing. You'll be able to see it from almost anywhere over here by the pond.
It will be huge.
And the forsythia plantings over there that you can see behind us, there's 4 of them that I can see from here. There's 2 that have been there for a while and 2 that are still fairly young.
Well, actually, they're all at the same time. We wanted something bright there, so we got the yellow, thinking it would just pull some color into the landscape.
That always attracts my attention in the spring when the forsythia come out.
Yeah, well, we also wanted to hire the meter that's in there. So it does both, dual purpose.
My wife is one of those people who just cannot say forsythia.
Oh, wow.
She gets a lot of S's and F's in there in places where they really shouldn't be, but that's just the way people are sometimes.
Well, if you lisp, it's a good word for you.
Yeah. And also from here, over by a little bit closer to the bandstand, there's a plum tree.
Beautiful, beautiful shape too.
And you can see from here that there's white and pink in there.
Yeah.
So the inner part of the blossom down to where they come out of the stem is the pink, and they fade to white as they go out, and it is just gorgeous even from this distance.
Oh, it is. It's the throat of the blossom itself. It's very small, but it's very colorful. And when you get up close and look at it, you see how beautiful it is.
We're here at the wall, right next to the pond in Whitman Park, and we have one of the earliest spring bloomers there is still in blossom over here, a nice daffodil. And the color is just tremendous. It's beautiful. And not only that, we have this phlox that they call it creeping phlox because before you know it, it's crept up all over the place. And when that's in full blossom, that's got some tremendous colors too.
Well, the phlox is a ground cover good for this wall because it doesn't get high. This is a beautiful wall donated by the Whitman VFW. It was like $24,000 for them to have this built. John Perennial, previous DPW, and he was an engineer and head of the VTW, and he designed this. Did a beautiful job, and it shows off everything you put in it.
Yeah, and it has some shrubs here that are year-round, some that lose their leaves. The one right behind us here is starting to come back with the leaves, and a lot of barberry bushes up on the upper level.
That's to keep the kids off the wall, we hope. As you can see, some of the rocks get broken out.
Yeah. But as much as I hated them when I was a kid, they are actually a beautiful bush.
Yeah, they are pretty. In the fall, they're the best. They're bright orangey red, and they are a beautiful bush. But you don't want to go stand in one.
No. I found that out the hard way more than once. So this has just been a great place to come because people can stand here and watch the fountain in the park. They can come and take a look at, because there's a lot of different ground covers over here too.
Yes.
And some of them are being a little bit overrun by the phlox.
Yeah.
and some pine-style shrubberies and other things. There's just quite a variety of plantings in this particular garden.
Yeah, well, it's huge. It can take a lot of different plants. We don't always have a lot of money to spend on the plants, but we've done pretty well. And as I say, the DPW in the last few years has helped a lot with the upkeep and the maintenance and the growth of what we need here. As I said before, all of these trees are getting old, so a lot of them are. And you got to keep planting things and take care of them.
Yeah, because you can see, some, as you look around the park, you can see some of the ones that are starting to look their age, as it were, even though trees do tend to grow pretty old. There are some other trees around here that look even older than some of the ones that are starting to look a little seedy, that are just doing so well here too.
Yeah, they're happy.
Yeah.
they're happy. I mean, they have space, most of them. There's plenty of water. It's a good place for things to grow. And about 10 years ago, Friends of the Park bought a huge watering drum, which they put on a pickup truck. So when things are desperate, they can go around and water. And we had several trees that were planted last year. The DPW and Friends of the Park both put in a lot of trees. I think it was about 8 trees last year. And they needed to be watered because it wasn't a good time to plant or a good year to plant. And they used that truck, and they did a really good job keeping those new trees going.
Okay, well, let's say we move on again now, huh?
Oh, we're always moving. On the move.
On the move. Final stop for this garden tour and garden spaces is the Bandstand in Whitman Park. And we have a beautiful garden, all spring flowers here behind us, with a few summer ones that are coming up, but they're coming up even early for that so they can enjoy the spring with us all. We have the daffodils, we have tulips in here, we have hyacinths. There's a myrtle, which is most people grow as a ground cover, that has some beautiful little white flowers on it.
Hostas.
June. The hostas, that's right. That's what I was thinking for the summer flowers. And you were going to tell us a little bit about the bandstand here.
The bandstand was built in 1908, and it's still there. They did build things well in those days. It was refurbished about 15, 20 years ago. When I was on one of the commissions, we decided we put the bandstands back, band concerts back, and that was a big step. It was so beautiful here. In the summer evenings, we'd have them Thursday nights, and it was beautiful. The people all over with blankets and kids running around, and the band concerts were really good.
I wandered through here a few times on other projects when the concerts were going on, and everybody that was over here was just having a wonderful time. And they were sitting in the park benches all the way down along the ball field, all the way down to the corner of Hayden and
around the
Park
pond.
Avenue, around the corner. Everybody was here, they were listening to the music, and they were having just a wonderful time.
And they in the 50s and 60s, they did a lot of band concerts. And then they just died out, and they didn't have them anymore. And then somebody mentioned it, and I said, well, let's look into it. And I was on the cultural council at the time, and we put on the concerts for that first summer, and it took off. Yeah. And people were loving it, sitting all over the place, and you'd see people you hadn't seen for a while. And I loved it. Sometimes the kids would get out and dance, their little diapers and their night shirts hanging around. It's so cute. But it's been a lot of pleasure. We've had people getting married on there also. If anyone wishes to have a wedding in the park, they can go through the DPW and book time to do it. And it's beautiful. And the junior prom, covered around here, all around the pond and around here, where the kids they come up on a bus and have their pictures taken at the park near the pond or the bandstand. And
we've actually used it for interviews that we've done.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but it's
not to mention the wall.
Yeah.
We've done interviews down there. And I can't wait for things to come back to more to normal so that we can be sure that we will have band concerts coming in again for the summertime.
It is a shame. Everybody says the same thing. I can't wait till it's over. I just hope it gets over. I hope I live to see it all get over. It looks like it's going to go on for a long time.
Well, that's all we have to show you from the park right now. We're going to try and come back again in the summer and show you the new crop of flowers that will be coming up then. The irises, the daylilies, all kinds of things will still be happening. The trees will be fully leaved then and throw beautiful shade around. But until then, keep your eye peeled for newer episodes of Garden Spaces here on WHCA. Garden Spaces is looking for more gardens to show on this program. If you would like to show your garden, flower, or vegetable to folks in Whitman and Hanson, send an email to info@whca.tv, put Garden Spaces on the subject line, and put your contact information in the body of the email. We'll get back to you.